What's going on, you guys? My name's Ty Knotts, and welcome to Top 5 Unknowns, 5 mysterious crimes surrounding unidentified victims. Number 5. In February of 1971, the badly decomposed body of a Florida woman was found underneath the bridge of Lake Panna. Police believe that this woman was likely in her early 20s and appeared as though she'd been strangled, as a belt was found to have been wrapped around her neck. She was carrying no ID and no one ever came forward to identify her. Because of this, she was nicknamed Little Miss Panna and was buried just a short distance away from where she was found. As time went on, Panna's case grew more and more strange, eventually leading police to exhume her body years later in a second attempt to identify her. It was at this point that investigators noticed that she'd had reconstructive surgery performed on her ankle at some point, and that lead had been placed in some of her teeth as part of a dental procedure. A quick look into this lead proved that the work was likely done somewhere near Athens, Greece. It was also found out that she'd likely given birth at some point, meaning it was very likely she had family out there somewhere. Yet still to this day, no one has come forward to identify or claim this young girl's body, and her case remains unsolved. Number 4. In August of 1976, the bodies of a young man and woman were found along a secluded road, with both appearing to have been in their late teens or early 20s. They had both been shot, with a local man claiming to have heard gunshots on the night that they were discovered, and heard a car speeding away just before the bodies were found. Neither of the two had any form of identification on their body or any sort of money. However, even though neither of them were carrying any sort of money, they were both wearing quite expensive clothing and jewelry, leading many to assume that this could have simply been a robbery that went horribly wrong. After a few months, a man came forward claiming to have known the couple, stating that he'd met them at a campground. He said that the man's name was Jock and that he'd been traveling the US after becoming disowned by his father, who was a Canadian doctor. Nothing is known about the female other than that she may have actually been his sister, but still, despite all these new leads and new information, police have yet to identify either of the two bodies. Number 3. In July of 1976, the naked body of a young female was found near Provincetown, Massachusetts. The left side of her skull had been crushed and her throat was cut all the way to her spine. Her hands and a few teeth had been completely removed, presumably to prevent police from identifying her. She was found lying on top of a beach towel with a pair of jeans and a bandana propped underneath her head as a pillow. Police believe that the woman was likely between 20 and 40 years old, though because of the condition of her body, it's difficult to be more specific than that. Some theories suggest that this woman may have actually been Rory Jean Kissinger, a 25-year-old criminal who escaped prison in 1974 after being arrested for her involvement in a drug ring, though this can't be confirmed. Some also believe that the person responsible may have been famous mobster James Whitney Bulger, who was one of the world's most wanted criminals as recent as 2011. Bulger was known to have recently visited the area in which the woman was found, and was well known for removing the teeth of his victims to prevent identification. One other theory suggests that this woman may have been a prostitute who Bulger picked up, and that things went awry so he disposed of her. Though if people are correct about this being the previously mentioned Rory Kissinger, it's likely that Whitney took her life in an attempt to silence her from snitching on him. Though still to this day, police have been unable to identify this woman, and Bulger's DNA was never found anywhere on or near her body. They also don't have any of Kissinger's DNA to be able to properly identify the body as hers. So for now, this woman remains unidentified. Number 2. In April of 1943, 4 boys were poaching in the Hagley Woods when they came across a large witch hazel tree. The boys began goofing off and one began to climb the tree when he noticed a human skull that had been placed in the hollow trunk. The boys then notified police, who arrived to search the area. As they began to search the tree, they noticed that not only was there a skull stuffed inside the trunk, but an entire body had been placed there as well, right down to the person's wedding ring. Police believe that whoever this was, they'd likely been in this tree for at least a year and a half. Forensic analysis was then performed on the body and it was determined to have been an unidentified female. But rather strangely is that when you look at public records, police have been notified about a woman's scream that had been heard in these woods about 18 months prior. Yet nothing was ever done about it. The woman's body was never truly identified, though in the months after her discovery, a strange series of graffiti drawings were placed all throughout the city, asking the question, who put Bella in the witch elm? All of these writings are believed to have been from the same person, with police obviously believing that the artist likely knew something about the woman in the tree. The message continued to be sprayed across town up until 1999, when the final message was painted on a 200-year-old monument. Police believe that this woman may have been involved in some sort of black magic or possibly have been a spy. Though after 75 years of searching, this woman still remains unidentified. Number 1. In July of 2002, an older gentleman by the name of Joseph Chandler took his own life by means of a gunshot wound to the head. Once his body was discovered, an autopsy was performed, which revealed that he'd likely been suffering from colon cancer, which may have been his reason behind taking his own life. When courts began to research the man and find out who his closest relatives were, they found that his social security number actually indicated that this man passed away at the age of 9 due to a car crash all the way back in 1945. As it turns out, this man had stolen a young boy's identity all those years ago and had been holding on to his name for nearly 60 years. As police continued to dig up info on this man, they found out that he'd requested a copy of the young boy's birth certificate back in 1978, and then used that to apply for a new social security card. Because of this strange turn of events, many crime-fueled communities became intrigued by who this man truly was, with some believing that he may have been the infamous Zodiac, a man who was responsible for taking the lives of at least 37 people during the 60s and 70s. The Zodiac was never caught, and Joseph Chandler bears a striking resemblance to him, though his true identity can't be confirmed. To this day, some 16 years later, Joseph's real name has never been determined, and this case remains unsolved. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.